When a recruiter asks you what your salary range is,
$1 million.
1 million. First of all, know your worth before you get on the market.
Yeah.
Know what your salary should honestly be.
Yes.
But the more honest and transparent you are with your recruiter, the more they will have your back.
I'm Chris Bussing. Welcome to my channel. It's committed to helping more people create lives of freedom and impact through success in tech sales and the pursuit of self-development. We've got an amazing guest today, Kaylin Wright. She's the head of network and talent at S3 Ventures, and we're going to talk about exactly what it takes to break into tech sales in an SDR role and open up amazing career opportunities in your life. Kaylin knows exactly what hiring managers and recruiters are looking for, so you're going to want to stay for this whole conversation, take notes, and share this conversation with more people who could benefit from the message. Appreciate you guys being here. Enjoy. And with that, Kaylin, thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So Austin's an amazing city.
Yes.
We have the Eclipse happening today. We had the Country Music Awards yesterday. And didn't you get in a Lyft or Uber with Matthew McConaughey?
Can
you tell us that story?
Matthew McConaughey is one of Austin's Uber drivers, as well as UT professors, and just all around good old Texas boy. I did. I actually called an Uber, and lo and behold, Matthew McConaughey pulls up.
Holy cow. How did you feel? Tell us the story.
You know, it's one of those where if you're in Austin, you see celebrities a lot. Like I've barged into Sandra Bullock using the bathroom before because she didn't have the door locked.
Oh my gosh.
We bonded. But no, like you get in, you're just like, you see the hey, and you're like, okay, Matthew McConaughey is my Uber driver. This is Austin. And you just kind of sit there and you're like, at this point, I'm like, I just want to hang out with you all day. So just drive around. And he will literally just pick up people and take people around and do free drives. And he's stop and get food if you're hungry.
Did you end up taking him up on stop and getting
I
food
did
and
not
coffee?
because I actually had somewhere to be. So I only hung out for like 2 more pickups, but I did not go for the taco run that they were going on. But yeah, I mean, Austin, gotta love us.
Did he end up having his picture? Like you obviously didn't know it was going to be Matthew McConaughey.
No,
was it
so
someone else?
it's completely random pictures, like an actual Uber driver that you would think.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden Matthew McConaughey comes up and is like, hey, are you so-and-so for so-and-so and you're going here? So like he reads off, like he just intersects different Uber fares that he wants to pick up. Wow. I don't know how he does it. Like my Uber driver on my phone was not Matthew McConaughey.
He must have some like partnership with
he
them.
has
or like
to
some
because
insider.
I mean, if you think about it, it's just like Matthew McConaughey is my Uber driver, and I know that I'm going to get as many people as I possibly can in that Uber with me. So I get why he does it the way he does. But yeah, he's just Austin.
It's crazy that you met Sandra Bullock in the bathroom, and didn't you meet John Travolta?
I did.
As well?
I did.
mean, it's just like it's blown me away. Like you just magnetize famous people. You know, I'm surprised you're not famous with your amazing personality. And
you know,
all you do.
I am in my own head. I'm kind of a big deal.
You remind me of like Anchorman. I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
In case you didn't
People know me.
People know
I have
me.
many leather-bound books, and my apartment smells of rich mahogany.
I love lamp.
I love lamp. And we also, of course, on this channel, love tech sales. So we're going to talk about, breaking in with your unique insider perspective coming from the place of a recruiter and a hiring manager, helping a bunch of people not only get into tech sales as an SDR, but also be successful in the role. But first, I wanted to take a step back and learn about your background. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey into basically where you are today at S3 and tell us about what you do there too?
Absolutely. So I started out in tech sales as an SDR.
Wow. That's amazing.
And then I actually kind of moved my way up and ended up in recruiting completely different than most people would. So I ended up being brought into Bizarre Voice. Woohoo! Bizarre Voice. And I was brought in as a BDR manager, not ever being a BDR before.
Interesting.
Because I was a team of 1. So I basically had to manage myself, train myself on everything. Well, I ended up doing well and ended up having a team of like 6 folks that I had hired myself. And they ended up being scooped up and promoted up within sales roles and closing positions and channel to where the CEO was just like, hey, you did a really good job hiring salespeople. Have you thought about being a recruiter? And I was like, no. He's like, you won't have to live out of a suitcase anymore and you can travel internationally. I was like, recruiting is exactly where I wanted to go. So that's how I ended up in recruiting. So I ended up being global head of talent for Bizarre Voice, opening up in a bunch of different international offices and staying as a sales leader, kind of going hand in hand with that. And then just really getting a passion for recruiting and sticking my heels in over the last 10 years.
So tell us about what you're doing at S3, because you're now supporting a bunch of companies.
Yes. So at S3, I am the head of talent and network. So basically what that means is my job is to hire VP levels and above for our active portfolios, act as fractional CHRO to our active portfolios, and then just be there for executive coaching, support, infrastructure development, and really just trying to help as many people get into our companies as possible.
Pretty amazing role. And I know you're so well connected in general. You're just a super connector, and you're also advising other companies even like more broadly too, it seems. So it's just, you're the person to know. And so excited now to dig in a little bit into how to find, first off, the right companies for people who are searching for their next role or to get their foot in the door in tech sales as an SDR. And then from there, we can go into technicalities like resume do's and don'ts, ATS systems, LinkedIn, networking to get interviews, and then how to actually show up and prepare for interviews to crush them. So first off,
just
I realized,
a little bit.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm trying to give the audience a little tease on like what's to come.
Buckle up, buttercups.
You know, buckle up. I don't know if that's how you put a belt on, but
I don't know, but
we're maybe it's like this.
It's a plane,
okay,
right?
It's like this, or you have to click first.
Yes.
So okay, let's click into. How do you think about intentionally finding the right company? Because I've seen people get into tech sales and they end up in a toxic culture or a sinking ship that's running out of cash, and their tech sales launch turns into a nosedive. So
yeah. So especially in today's market, you have to do your research. LinkedIn is a great source of information. Like if you go to the company page and go to their insights, you can see their churn, you can see their tenure. But really, I'd get on Google. I would start Googling, find out what their tenure is, find out how much investment money they have. If they have a run rate of at least 2 years, and this is for tech startups, this advice is for tech startups.
Okay.
It's vastly different than getting into a big and established public company. Startups, we work a little bit differently. Do your research on the company. If they have a runway of at least 2 years, you're going to be good for a while. Talk to other people that are currently employed there. Find people that have just recently started, have only been there for a couple of months. Find out what their onboarding process was like. Through that research, you can definitely find out whether or not that's going to be a company that has your vibe, your culture, your type of people. And also make sure that you're in the right industry. Like there are certain industries in tech that you might have a passion for and you might not. If you're not passionate, you're not going to be successful.
what are some of the industries within tech that you think are exciting? Like for people who are, they don't know what they're really interested in yet, but they might want to look at like an industry that is solid where they, like if they happen to have a passion, it's a good wave to ride. So like maybe one or two, I'm putting you on the spot, but.
No, that's good. Honestly, right now, AI, obviously, is really, really hot. And it's really exciting because there's so many nuances to it. There's a lot that we haven't tapped into, and there's a lot that we're figuring out on the fly. AI right now is hiring like crazy. At S3, we're a B2B fintech, medtech, SaaS tech.
Oh.
And so, but my background is B2B2C, e-commerce, and social collaboration platforms. So you can cross, you don't have to be industry, you can be industry agnostic, but AI right now is the industry that's thriving the most in 2024. That's where we see a lot of us putting our money just so we can get ahead of the curve.
What an insight coming from the person who's working at the VC that is investing.
That is really investing.
You know, it's a good signal to look at where the VC's investing.
Yes.
If you're saying it's AI, then that's great. And the cool thing about AI is it can impact all types of industries like healthcare to improve patient outcomes.
It covers the gambit.
Improve learning outcomes and education. So someone could figure out like, do I care about healthcare or education, or am I interested in like finance, and then see like the leading AI companies in those verticals.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. Cybersecurity is pretty hot right now too.
That's a
to
good one.
counteract the AI.
Yeah, no, you're right though, and that is
Yep.
one of those that's never going to go away.
It is
companies,
never.
and it's particularly enterprise companies,
Yes.
will always need to invest in security. So there's always going to, even in a downturn.
Yep.
So great call out. I appreciate that.
My pleasure.
An interesting topic that we can shift to now is ATS systems. I think that's redundant. I think that's redundant because it's application tracking systems.
Applicant tracking system.
Shoot, I always do that.
I do it, and I've been working with it. It's the ATS.
What is that for those who don't know? And tell us about why it's important to understand them, and we'll just expand.
Yeah,
from there.
absolutely. So an ATS is an applicant tracking system. That is where recruiters and hiring teams, we live and breathe. That's basically our CRM, and that is where we use it to post jobs. We use it to vet candidates. We use it for our application collection. It's really has been in the past, our bread and butter in order to keep things organized. And there are hundreds of different types of ATS.
Interesting.
Yeah.
My understanding is an ATS, no, I'm not going to add system on
No,
top.
you're okay.
It could rule someone out, and they could, like, as in the SDR role, you need certain qualities like coachability, grit, passion, ability to collaborate are what actually lead to success. And you might not have the resume on paper, but you could do a great job. But unfortunately, you get ruled out if you're not set up to get past the ATS system. And so, like, what do ATS systems flag for? Like, how do they actually work? Why will it sometimes lead to someone being ruled out? And what can they do to get over that hurdle?
Yeah, great question. So the ATS systems have progressively gotten more and more advanced. Like as early as 3 years ago, we can plug in the job description. We can add 3 or 4 different key, indicators that are going to be the number, the top 3 areas as this person's going to be successful. And then we're good. And the recruiter goes through and starts vetting. Now, with the incorporation of AI into the ATS, this is what's gotten so cumbersome for folks that are on the market right now. So with the AI, if you apply to multiple roles within a company, the ATS will flag you because we don't want somebody who is shotgunning approach into our company. We want somebody who is truly passionate about the role they're applying for, rather than, I like your company, I'm going to apply to these 15 and let's see what sticks. So ATS will now, they are getting smarter and smarter. If you have photos on your on your job description, on your resume, as lovely as it is to see you, that will get you filtered out.
Oh my gosh, you're dropping gold, by the way. This is these are the answers to the test. Guys.
We've all been trained that,
Wow.
throughout the history, resumes need to be one page. They need to stand out. You need your soft skills. You need to have color. You need to have different fonts. You need to have pictures. All of that advice will get you booted out of the ATS
my gosh,
now.
you're coming from a well-intentioned place. I want to bring a personal touch with a nice professional photo.
And that's the
it's
hard
actually
part.
screwing you.
Yes, it is screwing you over.
What else?
Have the proficiencies on there, because if you have your proficiencies and listed in with your actual job responsibilities, a lot of the times you'll be flagged as not being a fit because the ATS identifies things in certain blocks, like summary, objective, proficiencies, skills, experience, education, leadership. Those are the sections that ATS understand. Those are the primary ones that we populate in recruiting, to where if you don't have it easily broken down on your resume for the ATS to understand, you will get booted out. And it's not really like booted out, is auto-rejected.
How can people think about structuring their resume in a way that the ATS understands? I'll just open that up to you, and it's a broad question, but I love some.
Keep it boring. So
that's hard for me. Shoot.
Right?
For people like us,
my resume is 6.5 pages long with a lot of different fonts and colors, but I don't send it anywhere. I don't
funny.
ever
It's
put
just
it
for
into
you.
ATS.
You have this beautiful,
it's for me to sit there and go,
multicolored.
I'm kind of important. No, it's what I send to people. Like if somebody asks for a resume, that's what they get.
Okay. When you know they're going to review
When I know they're going to review it, they get my pretty resume.
You're in the actual interviews.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. That is what I will bring. So if you're meeting with executives and you're going on site, that's the resume that you have copies of that you make sure everyone's talking to. That's when you bring the pretty resumes. When you're applying, keep it on a Word doc or a PowerPoint. Don't get creative with it, because if it's not Word or if it's not PowerPoint, or not PowerPoint,
Like a Google
PDF.
PDF.
PDF or a doc, ATS won't accept it either. So if it's in a weird format, it won't be accepted. Text formats, it shows up at a blank page. But for your resume, again, keep it simple. You want all your contact information on there. We don't need your address. We need your name, city, state, so we know that if we're hiring in a specific area, you qualify. If we're hiring remote, or we're authorized to hire remote in your state.
Yeah.
So that helps us.
Okay.
Phone number so that we can call you. Email, you'd be amazed. People forget this. Email so we can reach out to you. And then your LinkedIn profile.
Okay.
Those are the main things. Your LinkedIn profile is actually your number one more important than your resume.
Okay.
Just FYI.
Okay, then we're going to go there next.
Okay.
Just anything to wrap up then on the content
Take
of
your
the
soft
resume.
skills out. We don't want soft skills are a waste of space and a waste of time.
What are examples of like some fluffy soft skills that I'm probably guilty of?
I played football in the NFL. I love my dogs, and on, days off, I walk on the beach and have a glass of wine. Stuff like that people actually put on their resumes. Soft skills.
Okay.
Here's a little bit about me. Good communication. We know this.
I mean, that's assumed.
That's assumed.
And
yeah.
you have to show that in your interviews too.
Yes,
that's
do.
what matters.
Yes, you do. And you have to do it on your resume, because if you
Okay.
can't communicate on your resume, you can't communicate, period.
In terms of like your actual outcomes and experience, like is it best to just be data driven? Like I drove like X 100,000 in revenue, or like is that important on the resume?
It depends on your role. For SDRs, absolutely.
Yeah.
We need, what was your quota? How many dials did you make? How many leads? What percentage were you at? We need all the metrics, because that's going to determine if you can keep up with the bandwidth and the pipeline that we have within our organizations. Put if you have sold into particular companies, name drop those businesses. Those would be the keys for sales. CS as well. Engineering, keep it in your wheelhouse. Engineers, we don't have metrics.
Yep.
Marketing, we do. Product, depending on what level of product marketer you are. If you're product management, product marketer, project, it varies. But sales and CS, yes. Have your metrics on there.
So you said LinkedIn is more important than
Yes.
resume. Let's talk about that then.
Yes.
Why is it important? How do recruiters and companies use it?
Well, we were talking about the ATS. So right now, because the market is so saturated with people looking for work, we have more people on the market than we do jobs. So when we do post a role, we get inundated. Within 30 minutes, I can have over 200 applicants. And out of those 200 applicants, maybe a dozen actually hit the mark. So that is a huge time suck for us to go through and weed out and read all those different resumes. So we've kind of stopped doing that. Now, in order to get hired, you need to be a referral or a sourced candidate. And in order to get sourced, you need to have a LinkedIn, especially if you're in sales. LinkedIn, Indeed, GitHub, depending on what your background is. GitHub, definitely for engineers. LinkedIn, predominantly for pretty much everybody else. And LinkedIn is a very, very important now, because the AI crawlers are now recruiters' best friends and hiring managers' best friends, because there's not a lot of recruiters left on the market.
So these AI crawlers, how do they work? Is it is a recruiter like, I need to hire for this SDR candidates with these parameters, like this experience, and get the creepy crawly running on LinkedIn?
Pretty much. We get
work?
AI creepy crawler, like professional stalker kind of skills.
How does it work? It's kind of fun to...
Basically, the way it works, depending on which AI plugin you're using, and all of these are free, which, again, has kind of done away with people like me,
Interesting.
to where we can literally just upload the job description into these tools. If you have an intake or a Q&A session, or, the top 5 skill sets that you're looking for, and then you tell it, I want you to source on LinkedIn or GitHub, depending on what I'm hiring. It always goes to LinkedIn for me, pulls in 20 candidates, and I usually end up hiring out of those 20.
Okay.
Whereas, ATS, I have hundreds of people, and there might not even be 20 people qualified within there. So the crawlers are literally doing all the sourcing that we used to have talent acquisition sourcers and recruiters doing for us.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how do you help the crawlers find you? Do you give it try and look at the job description and match to keywords? And I'm thinking from the perspective of this aspiring SDR that knows they want to work at, for a company in your portfolio, for example, or like an exciting AI SaaS company.
If it's blank in LinkedIn, fill it out. That objective or the About You section in LinkedIn needs to be a combination of an objective and a career summary.
Okay.
This is everything that I've done. This is why I'm a rock star, and this is what I'm looking for next. And then basically, LinkedIn is your new resume. So whatever you have on your resume, copy and paste and put in LinkedIn. Because for the last 9 months, I think, I've not once been asked for a resume. And I've hired just under 70 people.
Wow.
Everything's LinkedIn.
70 people hired. None of them were coming from resumes.
None of them were coming from resumes.
So
all of them coming from just referrals and sourced candidates, thanks to wonderfully populated LinkedIn profiles.
Okay. So we have to have a wonderfully populated LinkedIn profile.
Yes.
And it seems like the content itself, like the words, are very important. I've talked to people in the past about, have a nice picture with an open teeth smile that shows some credibility and instills confidence and makes you trustworthy. But I'm almost thinking that's not as important. It's not important to the crawlies, right?
No, it's not important to the crawlies or the hiring manager.
What? Mind blown.
We've never looked at them.
Really?
Usually we get honestly, even 10 years ago.
I'm a sales guy. I'm about visuals.
I know you are. And it's such a pretty smile. But
thank you.
Like even 10 years ago, I would get pictures on resumes and I'm like, yes, you're pretty. Okay, moving on. It's just one of those where it's always just, and I've been a resume coach and I've gotten the requirements from the state going, this is everything that you need. And I've literally wadded it up and thrown away because I'm the hiring manager. I know what I want to see. I'm the recruiter. I know what I'm looking for. To where a lot of, don't get me started on resume writers.
We have so much to get to, so we'll save that rabbit hole for next one. But you really put in perspective, a couple paradigm shifts, the resume is not something we should get caught up on. Mm-hmm. Focus on LinkedIn.
Yes, and don't worry about your resume being one page, for the love of God.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you've never had a job, like my 19-year-old son, he has got a one-page resume. He's literally had 2 jobs before.
Wow.
That's okay. If you are a junior starting your career, 1 page, absolutely fine. But if you've been in your role or in your career for at least 3 years, it's okay to break that 1 page.
Interesting, because I still think less is more, stick to the 1 page, but that's kind of liberating. Now I'm 9 years in sales that I can actually expand
I can't put my experience into 1 page, and I write resumes for people. I'm not able to squeeze it into 1 page at all. So I'm just like, you know what? Good thing we don't do resumes anymore. Here's my LinkedIn.
Yep, exactly.
You can't tell how many pages LinkedIn is.
Exactly right. So another paradigm shift that you gave us is that most people who are hired are referred in.
Yes.
And I can validate at the enterprise level. There was a student I worked with that I helped get a job at Snowflake, which, is a great company. And he said of all the SDRs on the floor, I know there's 130 SDRs. I don't know if it's globally or his division. But he said him and one other person didn't have warm connections. Everyone else was referred. Mm-hmm. So whether it's the startup level, the enterprise level, it's a thing. So I wanted to shift gears to talk about, how to network to get opportunity. And I know we could network with a recruiter. Mm-hmm. You go to the hiring manager. You can also go to SDRs or AEs at the company that maybe could get a referral bonus if they like you and agree you might be a fit. So I just love your high-level thoughts, first off, on the importance of networking, and then maybe we could double click into how to actually do it in a way that is tactful and effective.
I think networking is your number one most important thing that you have to be able to do in order to get a job in today's world. It is vital. You need to know people.
That's another mic drop line. We've had quite a few of those and more to come, I'm sure. So especially for a sales role.
Especially for a sales role.
And that's the beauty of sales, the SDR role. If you don't have a fancy pedigree with a top university or past experience, if you can show your real world resume that you can actually do the job in action, that is powerful because some people are really good at telling a story on the resume, but they're just great at marketing. They don't necessarily have the skills needed to succeed in reality.
Yep.
So, man, I'm so big as well on the importance of networking.
It's just vital.
Yeah.
And the thing is, though, and it's not just networking with a recruiter or the hiring manager. It's networking everywhere you go. Or if you're standing at Starbucks, you start talking to the people around you. Talk to everybody because you never know who's going to be able to help you. And everyone you talk with, make sure you connect with them on LinkedIn because that's your network. That's how you start building. The more people you're connected with, the more people that can see you, the more people that you can tap into saying, hey, I know we don't know each other, but we're really good friends with, Chris. Would you mind walking me in here? Well, yeah, if you're friends with Chris is only friends with rock stars, so absolutely. Sometimes your network will work for you that way. Like we have people now, last time I looked for a job was about 10 years ago. Your network is vital. And the more you build your network with people that you meet, or we're talking networking events, meetups, happy hours, there's places in Austin. We have so many coffee shops here in Austin, like Mozart's.
Yes.
You want a network? Go to Mozart's Monday through Friday, any time of the day, and you will have executives, you will have fractionals, you will have HR folks just sitting there, and that's what we do. I built my network by literally sitting in a coffee shop for 3 months and just talking to every single person that had a laptop.
That is so good. And I don't know if we've ever hit it on that in our 100+ podcasts on this channel of the power of not just intentionally networking on LinkedIn and outbounding to SDRs, AEs, hiring managers, and recruiters at companies you want to work at, but opening yourself up to the possibilities of going out in the world.
People forget about real life.
Like real life, like especially if you live in a city like Austin, you go to like coffee shops, and to your point, you could have executives that are grabbing coffee right alongside you. You start a conversation, you don't even know it. You figure out what they do. Turns out, you share that, hey, wow, like that sounds really interesting. I'd love to potentially work for you. And maybe they can just get you right in the door to the recruiter and pass you along. And I was on Congress Avenue walking with a guy that actually had reached out through my channel. We took initiative and he wanted to talk tech sales. And we saw someone with a cyber truck, and the guy said, hey, check it out. And it turned out that all of a sudden he starts talking about how they're hiring at Tesla, and he got the contact information. So
Tesla's always hiring, FYI, if anyone's looking for a job right now. Hot.
And that was a little different though, because it's on like the assembly line. And he seems like open to it, but I think he realized he wants to more so like get into tech sales, but it's still an example.
The thing is though, so many people have forgotten about IRL in real life.
In real life. I love IRL.
Everyone is just... pre-pandemic, everything was in real life. We'd pick up a phone and we'd call you instead of text you. And it was more interactive. And then the pandemic hit, everyone went isolated and everyone went online, which is really, really helpful. But people forgot how to talk to other people, or that the world actually exists outside of what's on your phone and your computer. And the networking is so important. I mean, I can connect and network with anybody on LinkedIn, but they don't know me. They haven't been able to have a conversation with me. They don't know if I'm articulate. They don't know, if I drop the F-bomb, which I don't, but I sometimes do all the time. They don't know if I'm client-facing.
Yes.
On social media or on LinkedIn. But if you see me on LinkedIn after I chatted with you at a coffee shop, they're like, oh, I remember her. Her energy was really, really high.
Yes.
We should talk with her.
Yes.
My energy is what gets me in the door a lot of the times, and you can't get that on LinkedIn.
So quick tangent, your energy is incredible. Every time I talk with you, I'm like so excited to conquer the world, and I'm like full of gratitude. My puppy's usually, when we do our virtual meets, she's sitting next to me, and after I'm like, Bella, oh my gosh, that's incredible.
Oh, Bella.
She's so sweet. So I'd love to know what the source of that energy is. And partly it could be your wiring, but are there also is there mindset? Is there habits you do to generate your energy, your positivity? That's
an interesting
inside
question.
the mind of Kaylin? And maybe it's just your wiring, but I had to ask.
I think there's a lot of all of that. So I love what I do. I'm a talent connector. I'm a connector. I'm a networker. My jam is to help people discover their best version of themselves and help them find their way. And that, I used to be a VP of sales. I used to chase down red lines and, make $250,000 to $1 million a year. Yeah. And I hated it.
Really?
Yes, there's nothing rewarding about it. I mean, yes, you make money, but you're not selling anything game-changing. But I can call somebody and I can get them a job and they don't have to worry about stress of paying their bills anymore or, having to move back home with mom and dad. I actually have a job. People love me. People respect me. And there's a path. I'd much rather do that. So I think a lot of where my passion and my geekiness comes from is I effing love what I do. Yeah. And it's a feel-good job. I'm actually making an impact on people's lives. And then, my dad, ex-military, when I was growing up, I would talk to anybody and everybody. Like I would wander around talking to strangers. And I never quite learned stranger danger. And my dad always said, you can't make a living out of talking to strangers. Hi, Dad.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, you can. And it's a feel-good job. So I think that's where my energy comes from. That and, no caffeine. Me on caffeine is bad.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I offered a coffee. But
yes. No,
you let me down easy.
Caffeine, when I was at Convey, everyone in the office would make so much fun of me because 1 cup of coffee, everyone would say okay to. Anything more than that, and they're just like, take it away from her. Like, people, our head of HR would actually come over and take my cup and walk away. Yeah. Because when you're already hyper.
So it's interesting, like you just, like I see myself in you and you're, down the path, like you've set an example of, first of all, you crushed it at the highest levels in sales, but then you shifted to something very in alignment with the type of impact you want to make and giving your gifts. And it's cool to hear that you get paid to just like literally build relationships and talk to people, because that sounds like music to my ears. And like sales, yes, I'm doing that. It's a job.
You could get paid for making friends. It's crazy.
Yeah. And so how, I do want to get back to some tactics on networking in person, but also how did you end up going from sales to, the role that you play in networking, recruiting, and helping people open up opportunities? I'm curious how because you clearly got closer to your purpose in making that shift.
You know what's so funny is sales and recruiting are the exact same role. You talk to strangers, you learn about that stranger, and you find out what their need is, and you try to meet the need. Okay. Recruiting is the exact same. So it's a very seamless transition. That's why you see a lot of recruiters right now that can't find jobs because we've been replaced by AI are going into BDR, SDR roles because it transitions. But honestly, like I said, I didn't pick recruiting. I didn't pick this avenue. It was given to me by a CEO at Bizarre Voice. Okay. And it was an avenue that I never actually ever considered. I'm a salesperson. It's what I do. I close deals. Yeah. And then the first person I hired, I was just like, oh, that was so much more exciting and rewarding than getting the red lines. And that's when I was just like, there's something to this. Maybe I need to take a step back and look at my happy place.
So you might have changed someone's future through this interview by highlighting the difference between sales and dealing with red lines longer term versus helping someone like change their life. And I mean, that really is enticing to me too. And we've talked about this before. So that's the beauty of this conversation. It's like my YouTube channel talks about getting into tech sales. It's a great path, but it doesn't have to be the only path.
No,
and it's cool to hear the parallels.
It can take you so many different areas. Like to get in, like if you're transitioning in your career and you want to get into tech, you have to go in through like a junior level sales role, like an SDR, BDR, or you have to go in through CS, customer service, customer success. Those are really the 2 easiest ways to get into tech. And then from there, you just need to figure out what drives me. Does helping people, working with people, driving people, does that drive me, or am I money focused? Am I more of a money person? If you are money focused, go sales. I'm a money person. I always went the sales route, but you get to a point where, I actually made the switch. I don't think you and I talked about this because I was a single mom with a 4-year-old newly divorced. Wow. When I left my last sales role, quit, and then started recruiting full time. Like I think for me, it was one of those where I'm money driven, because that's what's been ingrained in me, even though I was just like, it's not as rewarding. But the minute I was able to make a life change, I immediately went towards the feel good. And if you are passionate about what you're doing, the money's going to be there. You will make the money. Don't worry about the money. The money will be there. It's just finding out what your passion is so you can stick with it long enough to make the money. I went on a little tangent.
That was such a good one. So at the end of the day, focus on meaning.
Yes.
And the money will follow.
Just meaning and reward for you. Like for me, I cannot imagine doing anything that is just self-deprecating. I get my personal joy out of helping others. I'm self-aware enough to know that for me, I'm like, I don't really care. But if I can make somebody else's life better for a day, that is my happy place. You just need to find out where your happy place is, and you're going to be successful.
It's like you are so generous. Like every time I talk to you, not only do you give your energy, which leaves me like ready to like conquer the world and so grateful and excited, but you follow through, you make introductions, you open doors, you give ideas. So thank you for that. And that's what you're doing right here. So I love it.
Imagine how good the world would be if everybody did that.
Everyone did
Could you imagine?
Like
take
abundance,
5 minutes and just be kind to somebody.
Be kind, and we can like lift each other up. You know, like let's give. It just comes back. It's like this beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did just want to tie a bow on networking because like I love how you hit on if you meet someone in person, you just never know. They could be your key foot in the door to a great company. Just how do you handle like when you're in the conversation and all of a sudden it goes from chit chat to like realizing, oh wow, like there's an opportunity here. Like maybe like I might want to work for them. And like, how do you frame it in terms of like your maybe it's quite simple, but your interest to maybe work for them and actually open the door and get those next steps. It's a mini like kind of close in a way.
It is, but I mean, you keep it simple. Say yes, saying there's a chance.
Yeah. Okay. I always quote that, the Dumb and Dumber.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the thing is though, and it works, the minute you find, like when you and I are talking and you say something where I'm just like, ooh, I can do that. That's when you sit there and go, you know, I'm able to do that for you. Or that's exactly what I do. Or that's in my wheelhouse. The minute they open the door, it's almost like you're listening for buying signals. You know, it's like in sales, especially in closing, we're always just like, you know, we're listening for buying signals. When you hear, yeah, we can do that, or when we're doing implementation, or once we pay, those are all affirmative buying signals.
Oh, they're talking about paying now.
And talking about
they're
paying
talking about
now.
Implementation.
Yes. And you're like, so you're saying you want us.
Yeah.
So you're saying there's a chance.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Same thing when you're doing networking. Like I will... Perfect example. I was getting gas over by my office last week. It was Thursday. And I'm like standing there, and I work by a bunch of different office buildings. And this guy comes and parks next to me. And I start asking him about his car. I know nothing about cars, y'all. But
you're a curious person, which, by the way, is a key quality of successful people.
Just like, I'm standing there. I'm not doing anything else. This guy, he's got a car. It's an interesting looking car. I've never seen it before. I'm like, yo, I like your car. He's like, I like your Jeep. And we just started talking. And I was like, what do you do? What do you do for a living? And he was actually a VP of sales that had just gone through a layoff in health tech. And I was just like, we have health tech at S3 and we are always looking for hiring. So we literally sat there while he and I filled up.
Wow.
And we were talking. And then I called him when I got to my office. And I was like, you know, I want to continue the conversation that we had at the gas pump because I think I might be able to help you, or I have friends that might be able to help you. It's just, you really, and if you open the door to be kind and support somebody else, they will pay back the favor. It's like I always tell somebody, I'm like, I'm going to staff you at this company, even though it's not my company. I'm going to staff you over here to where in 5 years, when I want to staff you again and I reach out to you, you'll take my call. And so it's like, it's not selfish reasons, but there is a give and take with networking. Yes. And that's just, you just have to know that going in.
You remind me of a former CEO of Goldman Sachs. Not that I know him, but I've heard he said we're long-term selfish.
Yes.
You know, so it's like doing the right thing today that does benefit you in the long run. And that's a beautiful thing. There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
So yeah, help someone out with like a different company that doesn't fit in your portfolio, because long-term you're gonna have that relationship, or making a recommendation today for a customer that I don't think you should do this deal. Yep. Maybe you should check these guys out. But long-term, I've seen like peers of mine, like I remember my Google Cloud days, that a buddy of mine got like a $150 million deal. I mean, that's nuts. And it was because he advised the customer like a year earlier not to do a deal prematurely.
Absolutely.
So it's like that long-term selfish.
It is the long, and I like that. Because it's true. You're playing the long game. We all are in life. You know, in everything we do, it is the long game. It's not, we're not being conniving. We're not being manipulative. It's just, we're living life, and I'm networking with people because I truly, honestly care. Like my husband, he gets so embarrassed because I will literally try to recruit and hire, like the kid that sold my son his car, Ibrahim. Hey, dude, I told him to watch this because he's trying to get out of automotive sales and get into SDR, and he's got a couple interviews lined up from networking.
Wow,
and
beautiful.
Like, I will try whenever I talk to somebody, if they've got something that I'm like, I have to help you, I will literally stop and talk to anyone and try to find them a job. I cannot help myself now. It's gotten that bad.
It'd be crazy if we had like a visual representation of all the people that you've touched, you know, and like now, and it could see their trajectory and how it altered. Like, I don't know, that just hit me. I'm a visual artistic mind.
What's so funny is we do network events for S3, and we'll bring like the C-suite leaders for certain orgs. And one of my senior partners was like, are you using these happy hour events to have parties and reunions? And I'm just like, no, I just kind of happen to know everyone in Austin. Yeah. So it feels like it. It's fun.
That's amazing.
It's so nice.
So one more networking thing, is I'm so big on it, is like, if we were to reach out to you, you're a hiring manager at a company or recruiter, and it was cold and it's via LinkedIn because maybe the company is based somewhere else. You know, what might the message look like? A message that just high level, the content and how it might be framed in a way that might catch your attention and be like, oh, okay, this person has something to bring to the table. They're actually interested. I'd love your high level thoughts.
Yeah, so there's two ways of doing it. Most people are going to use LinkedIn Connect because they don't have enough credits on Messenger to send you a message. So you're working on like 3-sentence max on a LinkedIn Connect. Say hi with the person's name so they know it's not just a copy and paste spam. So it's like, hey, Kaylin, saw that you have this job posted with the job title at this company or wherever. Would love an opportunity to chat with you about it. Are you free Tuesday, Thursday, this time? Do an assumptive close.
Beautiful.
Have the assumptive close. Like, here's my availability. I'm going to make it easy for you to tell me when I can talk to you. If it's in a message and you have LinkedIn credit or you have somebody's email address, subject line, you know, title of the role, and then make sure in the body of the email, if you're not connected with anybody, just say, you know, I was online, saw this job, did a little bit of research in your company, saw that this is your mission, this is your values, this is my jam. You're right up with what I want. You know, find something that, you know, shows that A, you've researched the company, and B, that you are the person that has the right mindset that they want to bring in. That's going to open the door. And then once the conversation has, it's up to you to sell yourself based on that criteria. But you have to find common ground. The common ground is really going to be helpful if it's not a face-to-face interaction.
So well put, and multiple good examples. So now let's talk about the mind of a recruiter, or give people, that sounds funny, but like the mind of a recruiter.
The beautiful minds.
Yes, it's incredible. And then hiring managers too. I just, like, you can give us an empathy that we typically wouldn't have access to. Like, I remember watching you in a South by Southwest talk that I loved, and you said, recruiters are yay me.
Yes,
yay
they
you,
are.
Right?
So many people think we're the bad guys.
Yeah, so tell us about how should we think about the recruiters, because I think y'all are our biggest champions and partner in the interview process. So let's talk about that.
Okay, first of all, the way you're thinking, I love you and I appreciate it because that's true. So recruiters, we are people advocates. We are part of the people org. We are inherently people. We are not assholes. Can I say assholes?
Yeah, you can say that. We speak French. I've had so many clips. If we looked at our podcast, people always say that in studio.
It's like once we say it, we're like, oh, damn.
Yes, we speak French.
We speak
We
French.
love that shit.
Diverse. Fabulous. So, I mean, I totally got distracted. I was like I'm going to drop F-bombs
you're like, let's just cuss the rest of this interview. So the mind of the recruiter.
Yes, thank you.
Like
my mind. We're all going to scatter.
Yes.
Okay, so recruiters, we got into this role. Recruiting is not something that people strive to be. Recruiting is not a career that little kids are like, man, for a living, I'm going to be a recruiter. No.
Yeah.
This is every single person I've ever talked in talent management, talent acquisition, and recruiting. Yes, there's 3 different things, and they all mean a little bit different.
Interesting.
All hire people, but everyone that I've ever found within those areas, we did not actively go out to have that job. It's something that we've really just kind of fell into because of the kind of personalities we have. And so for us, we are a yay you. If you see my calendar, you've seen my calendar. I am like booked a month in advance because
can't believe we got in your calendar.
I know.
Yes.
Because I take every call.
Yeah.
If you want to talk to me, absolutely. I will talk to you because I want you to know that there's somebody out there that gives a damn about you. But I also want to seem like, do you have skill sets that can help my companies? So it benefits us both to have a conversation. Yeah. But as a recruiter, like if we put you into an interview process, we are your biggest advocate. We are your biggest cheerleader. Like we are talking and prepping you and boosting you up behind the scenes. We are bragging to the hiring manager. We were talking to the panelists. We're like, this is the right person. We are an advocate for you. We are not the bad guy. We are not here to filter people out. We're here to filter people in, is truly what we do. It's not, we don't want to kick people to the curb. We want as many people in the pipeline as we possibly can. There are the bad ones out there that have an issue with ghosting. A lot of times, though, that's not the recruiter, it's the company policy. And a lot of people don't understand that. So whenever I'm in the company, my policy is everyone gets a touch. So even if it's a rejection, even if it's a canned rejection, everyone gets a message so you're not left hanging. Some companies truly have the hiring philosophy of we only reach out to the positives. We don't touch the negatives. So you could get ghosted. And that always sucks. Or if a recruiter calls you and says, hey, I will follow up with you or expect an offer, follow up. Be pleasantly persistent. Do not wait for them.
Yes.
Because they have a lot on their plate. There's a lot on our plates other than just one offer that we're trying to track down for you or some feedback that we're trying to track down. Like we're executive coaches. We're in charge of a lot of the budgets. We're head of HR sometimes. I mean, we're a catch-all for a lot of different things. So it is okay for you to be pleasantly persistent with us. And by that, I mean annoy the F out of us if that's what it takes for you to get the answer you need.
So, what does that pleasant persistence look like? For example, you say that, hey, we'll get back to you on the next interview round or something like that within a couple days. Like, does that mean like maybe if they said 2 days, you reach out on the third if you haven't heard or fourth? Like, you just practically, what does it look like?
Yes, think of it like dating. If you had a really good date and you say, hey, I'm going to go tell my parents about you, and then we're going to have dinner in a couple of days.
Yeah.
And it's day 2, and it should be dinner tonight, and I don't hear from you. I'm going to call you.
Yeah.
Be like, yo, I need to know, should I eat or are you going to feed me? Same thing with recruiting, applying for jobs, you're dating.
Yeah.
If you think about it. It's the same
with sales too. I always say sales and dating, it's the same thing.
Sales and dating is the same thing because it's a dance. It's a little bit of give and take.
I've been doing the dating dance lately, and I even posted, I got stood up on a date, believe it or not, on Hinge. She unmatched me while I was sitting there saying, are you going to be here?
Are you serious?
Yeah, but it turned into like a nice little message on how sales teaches thick skin, right? But that can happen, by the way.
Show me your picture and give me your name. I know people.
Yeah, gosh.
Whoever you are, you see this?
Come on. Look at this. Anyways, so but it's such a, it really applies. So you're saying be pleasantly persistent, which is actually a phrase I use too. I think when I heard you say that in your talk in South by Southwest,
and the thing and it's not nagging, it's not pestering. If you have pestering in your vernacular, get rid of it. You're being pleasantly persistent, not pester.
Yeah.
And if somebody says, "Hey, I'll follow up in 2 days," you give them till that I usually get end of business day is 5 for most people. I give them until 4:30. If I don't hear from them after they said 2 days and it's day 2, call them, email them. It is okay to do that. Hold us accountable. Because if we told you it's like, hey, I want this in 2 days and we don't get it, it's going to reflect very poorly on you because you had a deadline. So if I have a deadline and I'm not meeting it, hold me accountable.
Let's blow up the belief that, I'm being annoying. It's like, no, you're being persistent and you're showing the qualities needed in the role.
You're showing the qualities that we want to see. You're showing passion. You're showing interest. If you're in sales, you're showing that you don't take no or quiet as an answer because no is never an answer.
I'm literally doing this. I was so proud of it last week, a great follow-up email where I proactively planted the seed of the next call with the customer. We're at a point where we're starting to talk pricing and actually scope a real deal. Yep. And it's funny because I was just celebrating myself. I'm co-selling with AWS. I'm at a cloud consultancy, and the AWS seller was on the thread. He said, "Great follow-up." But there is an art to it, to do it mindfully.
To do it mindfully. Right? That's just it. You don't want to sit there and text me nonstop.
Okay. Could we hit on real quick an example of when you're being annoying and not mindful versus a mindful follow-up?
Yes. Actually, I've got a couple of those right now. When a recruiter, and we are brutally honest with you because we don't want to be annoyed. So listen to when we say, it's like, hey, I don't have anything just yet. Follow up with me in 4 weeks. And then you proceed to call me twice a week leading up to that 4 weeks.
No. Oh, no.
No.
On. You got a timeline.
Yeah, I gave you a timeline. And listen, recruiters, we will tell you, it's we're not hiring this role now, but we're going to be hiring in Q4. Follow up with us mid Q3 because that's when we're starting the interview process. If we need a button seat in Q4, be proactive. Just don't, we give you a timeline, don't pester us before that timeline.
Yeah. By the way, I have a story that I never told you, but getting my job at Google that brought me to Austin, I had a recruiter, Jen, that will always have a place in my heart. She is amazing. We even had moments where all of a sudden I'm like, Jen, are you okay? She was crying, but because she watched an amazing video and was happy crying. It was adorable. But anyways, with let me try and summarize this quickly. I left my Oracle job prematurely and went into 6 months of voluntary fun employment because Google hit a hiring freeze before I had the official offer. Can you believe that? And so I had made it through the interviews. I just needed their board approvals. And I was so confident that I'm good on paper, went to a top university, and I'm a pretty good marketer, right? Mm-hmm. And
you quit before the paperwork.
So what I did, though, with my manager, I thought, I'm not going to blindside my boss, Monty. Shout out to Ryan Montgomery, but we called him Monty. He's a great manager. I said, hey, I want to be transparent. I'm taking a job at Google. Should be getting it in the next 2 weeks. I want to get someone in seat and not blindside. That was ridiculous. I'm like, this is Chris's world. Everyone can win. And so I helped get someone placed in my role, picked a voluntary unemployment date 2 months out, but it dragged its feet. Meaning Google. And so I did end up getting the job. But in this story, talk about having to build an amazing recruiter relationship.
Yep.
I even did something that you probably shouldn't do. I figured out she loved Blue Bottle coffee and got her some. I probably shouldn't do that.
I will tell you.
Okay, so
I've got so many sloths because I do not know how y'all figure out that I collect sloths and Star Wars stuff.
I was just talking about sloths the other day with someone, by the way. I'm like, imagine if we were sloths.
Oh my God, life would be so amazing. Could you imagine sleeping 20 hours a day?
This girl actually told me, and we were on a little coffee date, and she's like, I wish I was a sloth or something. Yep. I'm like, you're cool. But okay, so that story I wanted to tee up because it was pretty crazy and epic, and it did work out. But the importance of following up with the recruiter was so key in building a personal relationship because when it opened up 6 months later, the dream almost died, but she had my back, and there was such a personal, she wanted me to get it, and she helped me negotiate for a signing bonus that I wanted, where with Google, the negotiation, you're pretty removed.
Yes, and
so
leverage your recruiter for that, because we have all the information.
Okay, so let's finish up on the recruiter piece, talking about how to like build that relationship. How can you give them ammo to like sell you better and like be your champion like Jen was for me?
So when a recruiter asks you what your salary range is,
$1 million.
1 million. Could you imagine now in today's world, $1 million? Like, really? That's nothing.
Yeah.
But when it came out, huge.
Yeah.
God, we're getting old. First of all, know your worth before you get on the market.
Yeah.
Know what your salary should honestly be.
Yes.
But the more honest and transparent you are with your recruiter, the more they will have your back. Like I've always found that I really, really like put myself all in for people that have made a point to make sure I know them, where, I've got one candidate who I've been trying to staff for a while. Her name's Jenny.
Jenny.
Jenny! If y'all need a CS
Shout
person, y'all give me a call. She's amazing.
Let's go.
But like Jenny, I had nothing for her, and she didn't want to make herself annoying. So she got to the point where she would send me like random cartoon clips via email. Just sit there and say, I know you don't have anything. I'm waiting for you.
I like that.
Just want you to know I'm thinking about you.
That's so sweet.
Anything that you can keep yourself top of mind with, be proactive. We are devastated when a role falls through, or when we have an offer that we have to retract because we lost funding. You guys don't understand. I have ugly cried at work. I have dry heaved. I have literally thrown up on a hiring manager because they got me so upset.
Wow.
It's
Epic.
recruiters.
Emotional roller coaster.
It's an emotional roller coaster because we are personally invested with each candidate that we present forward. Our reputation is attached to each candidate that we present forward. So it behooves you to give us all the information, be honest, be transparent, be clear. If you can't start for a month, say I can't start for a month. It is okay, because I have literally given offers with 3-month extensions in order to lock in a good candidate. You just have to we're your advocate. Don't lie to us and then tell hiring managers something else, because the minute that happens, like if you say one thing to me and I get you in front of the hiring manager and you say something completely different, that hiring manager knows what you told me because I've already shared all my notes. And it's either going to make you look bad or me look bad. But either way, we look bad, we're not going to help you. We don't do well with liars. You have to be transparent with us. And that's a big thing that I think a lot of people looking for a job right now, I think that they're worried about that. Or, I've been riffed 4 times in 3 years and I've been unemployed for 8 months. You and everybody else.
How do you handle that, by the way? That's a good one to double click on.
You and everybody else. Since the pandemic, I have been riffed 4 or 5 times.
Really?
I actually collected more in severance than I did in paychecks.
Wow.
Always ask for a severance, even if they don't offer it. Always ask.
Okay.
Because sometimes we don't give it unless you ask. Just
Are you serious? That is so important. Oh my gosh, that could make such a difference for people.
inside
Great
information.
Tip. Great tip. Ask for severance.
Always ask for
in
severance.
writing. In an
writing.
email. I'm
Yes.
assuming. Yeah.
Always. Even when you get an offer, you can negotiate severance. Just FYI.
Oh my gosh, what a nugget.
So there you go. But I mean, be honest with us.
Yeah, be honest.
We
That's what it
cannot
is.
help you find a job. We will not help you find a job if we find out you lied to me. Like, I have a book of business that I've had for 22 years now that have over 50,000 names. Quite a few, not quite a few, like there's at least 24 in red. That's because they lied. I will never help them staff. And they are in my book to make sure that they've been blacklisted from my book.
Integrity, honesty is so important. That's the foundation of trust in a relationship.
Sir. Our candidates represent who we are as people, as recruiters, as people. And if you show up in a bad light, we're not going to help you.
Yeah, if anything, speaking to the audience, I hope this puts in perspective the importance of the relationship you build with your recruiter. And this gives you empathy for, what they value and how you can build an amazing relationship. Now, I realize, I think we're coming on time. I want to be respectful of your time. We might have started early though. Do you have an extra 10 minutes? I know you have a jam. What time is it right now?
It is 11:25. I do because it is the solar.
It's the eclipse.
It's the eclipse today, but it's
11:25, so we're
very
coming.
Cloudy.
Do we have an extra 5 minutes?
Yes, we can do an extra 5 minutes, and then I do have to get back on the road.
Cool. We'll table talking about the SDR role and how to crush it for another conversation. I can't wait to have you on again.
But happy to come back anytime.
Final piece is preparing for interviews with precision. It's a horse race in that like you could crush it and still lose out to another candidate. I think you said there's more candidates than jobs available right
Way
now.
more
so
candidates
it's
than jobs.
We could finish up with some important tips on how to prepare to maximize interviews.
Yes. Thank you for that. It's so important.
Yes.
Do your research. And by that, I mean, know who you're talking to. No, even if it's a recruiter, know who your audience is. Because a lot of times people will just want to be like, okay, so what's your role within this company? I'm like, okay, well, I don't work for that company. There's one example. So know who your audience is because it puts you in a much more positive light because guess what? Before we talk to you, we've stalked you. Before I pick up the phone and have a conversation with you, I've looked at your social media. I've looked at your Facebook. I looked at your Twitter. I've looked at your LinkedIn. I see if you're on YouTube, what type of content do you put out? Is this something that I want to be associated with? If you're we stalk you. We already know your background before we have a conversation with you. Do us a little bit of respect and know who we are when you talk to us because we're going to assume that you are showing up for us the way you would show up for a hiring manager. And if I present you to my hiring manager, which is usually a founder or a CEO, you damn well better know who that person is, what their company does. Have a basic understanding of who the company is, who they are, what they do, and why they do it. Biggest pet peeve is when I get on an interview and somebody's like, okay, what company is this for again? What role is this? Because I'm like, why are you wasting my time? Because for me, that's just disrespectful. It's like, I know why we're talking. Like, I'm staffing for 36 different companies, but yet I'm coming to the call knowing which company it is and which role it is and what your background is. Do me the same. And I'm like, and I do that 15 times a day. So come a little bit prepared for that. That'll do you very, very well. If you see like common, like when you and I first talked, you were a cold outreach, but yeah, you were like, I saw this and I'm really excited about this. I'm like, okay.
I saw you have an adorable Frenchie.
You saw you have an adorable Frenchie, which by the way is the easiest way to get to my heart.
Yeah, and seriously, and my puppy Bella, no question. And also the YouTube, by the way, I had a candidate I was interviewing for my company Bespin, and they mentioned my YouTube and they buttered me up and I was like, I like this person.
Right? You mentioned my firm, my dog, we're good.
Yeah.
It's like you've done your homework. Just show up the way we show up. If you show up and it's a Zoom call, have your camera on, have audio ready to go. Because if I have to dress up for you from the waist up, you need to dress up for me from the waist up.
I mean, take it serious. Dress professionally.
Dress professionally.
Like, so what about just a couple more questions around this maximizing interviews? What are some fundamental questions that you got to be ready to rock? Particularly like, I mean, you have the recruiter screening call. Like, obviously, there's a whole world of questions for like later behavioral interviews, but maybe some fundamental questions that you need to be ready to rock.
For the SDR role, one of the questions is, what's your cold call methodology? How do you handle no? That's a big thing. How do you handle no? So you're saying there's a chance. So you're saying no right now, but that's not no tomorrow. That's when you're just like, all right, that's where the sale begins. ABC of closing. ABCs? You know the ABC of closing.
Absolutely.
Okay. Always be closing.
Always be closing.
If somebody says no, it's just like not at this minute is what that means. It does not mean no forever. No, I hate you. Go jump off a cliff. It's just like, no, my dog died this morning. I'm getting a divorce. Somebody peed in my lemonade. I don't want to talk right now. That's what no means. Just no at this moment. Same thing. So that's going to be one of the
great examples.
Feel free to use that answer.
Great examples. I like that you not only said the question but gave examples.
Yes, feel free to use that answer.
What else would you add that is like absolutely critical for this role?
How would you navigate a gatekeeper? We always get that one. Be friends with the gatekeeper. Treat the gatekeeper like you would a recruiter.
You probably run the show around here. I was hoping you could help me out.
Yes. Yes. I don't
Make
want
it
to
feel
waste.
special.
I don't want and make every call. And the thing is, though, it's like, what is the secret to your success? Every dial counts.
Every dial counts.
Take that answer to the bank. You're welcome for your offer. Every
these nuggets are
dial
great.
counts. And that means, like, if you call and you get an operator, you can confirm with the operator, hey, I just want to make sure before you transfer me, is this the right address? Is this where you're located? Okay, I have this person listed. Is this really their title? Okay, are they really the right person that I need to talk to
Yes,
about
you wanna get
this?
to the right
They're
person.
not. Okay, can you please help me find the right person so I don't waste somebody's time? Absolutely.
Yes, so I don't waste someone's time.
So
That's
I don't
you're
waste
trying
somebody's
to be
time.
respectful of them.
Yep.
And of course, you know, like some fundamentals like why do you want to work here? What will you bring to the table? Things like that. And you had mentioned in your talk, I believe, in South by Southwest, bringing great questions.
Great questions.
Great questions. Talk about that.
Come prepared with questions from, especially if you're an SDR, like who's our target? Who's the target persona? Who are we selling into? Some BDRs are not just pipeline generations. You're just not, making sales qualified meetings or setting up demos for a sales rep. You might actually be the one doing the demo. Like how in depth of a role are you having your SDRs go? Do they get to do demos? Are they part of the sales team? Find out if a BDR is actually paired one-on-one. And if so, how does that work? Are you part of a sales group? Are you part of a sales pod? Are you just generating leads? Also, who's your competition? That's always a great question for salespeople to ask. Who are we competing against? Stuff like that, because, and even when you say that, it's just like, I saw that we've got, and always use we, assumptive close. You say we a lot, and we assume that you're already putting yourself in our shoes.
Oh my gosh, I do that all the time.
All the time,
and that's
it
a subtle
works.
thing, and it's good to hear that validated.
It actually, because we hear we, and it's a buying signal. So you hear we, and we're like, alrighty, they're already thinking they're in this. They're already thinking about us, the big picture, the growth of the company, how they can contribute. We love to hear that type of we. But if you sit there and go, okay, I see that our competitors are this. Am I missing anybody? Shows
That's
that
great.
you've done research.
That's great.
Stuff like that. We need to see that, because if you come and you're like, hey, do you have any questions for me? And you're like, no. I've never known a salesperson that didn't have questions. So if you're a salesperson and you don't have questions, that's a huge red flag for us on recruiting.
3 more questions. I'm cutting myself off,
Okay.
and they'll be quick. Okay. So what are a couple qualities, I think of the number 3, but it doesn't have to be 3, that you need to show recruiters and hiring managers as an SDR candidate, whether it's like through your stories or just like qualities you need to show them that you have that show that you will be successful?
You are competitive.
Okay.
You are money driven, and you like the chase.
Competitive, money driven, and like the chase. I love that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So a rapid fire, the penultimate question. I love that word. How closing up on interviews? How do you close in interviews? Do you have an example of how you might frame
it's the
closing?
same way that we were actually taught. I think you and I are definitely different generations. I think I've got like 15, 20 years on you.
Really? You look a lot younger.
Thank you.
And the energy in particular.
I appreciate it. I'm going to be 47 soon.
What?
Or I'm 47. I'm going to be 48.
Oh my gosh. When's your birthday?
How old
When's
am
your
I?
birthday?
October.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So as soon as my son turns 19, then I got 6 months, and then
Unbelievable, guys! Like, what inspiration that you can, stay youthful and have great energy, and like, I mean, you're still. Let's be real. You're not.
I'm still young.
You're still young, but like that,
47 and a
just like
half.
you look so much younger, and the way you
you.
show up. So that's amazing.
So what was the question?
So the question is closing. You look amazing.
Questions. Okay, so
closing on
closing.
interviews. How do you close?
So, it's always very simple. It's just like, have you heard anything today that concerns you, or do you think would prevent me from moving forward? Again, it's an assumptive close. You're just like, hey, I'm really excited to come on board. What's the next step? Either of those
I
will
love
work.
that. That's so simple.
Either of those will work.
Your confidence right there, by the way, composed, good tone. And you're direct.
Because when they say that, you're just like, oh, okay, well, let's go ahead and do this now then. I was going to wait a couple of days, but yeah, we'll get you scheduled.
Yeah, or even like, I really want this job. I'm ready to move forward. How can I earn this opportunity?
Yep, based on everything that we've talked about today, I am even more geeky about the role.
I love that.
So ready to get started.
I love that passion.
Yeah.
So this has been amazing. Thank you so much for your generosity and sharing all your insights
You're
and look
welcome.
under the hood and sharing your energy as well, which is the gravy on top. Final question is, any last words of encouragement for the audience? It's a broad question, but any words of inspiration to these young aspiring SDRs and 20, 30 somethings looking to launch and grow their careers?
My name is Kaylin Wright. I'm on LinkedIn. Find me, and I'm more than happy to help. Start leveraging your networks. If there's roles that you've applied for in the past, and after watching this, you're like, oh, I wonder if I have connections in those companies, go back and see if people can walk you in. More often than not, every single company right now is offering referral bonuses just because they've done away with recruiters and sourcers and usually only have like one or nobody there, and the hiring managers are doing the role. So they're relying even more on the referrals. So if you've applied for anything and you like the company, go back and see if you have a connection or a connection in there that can walk you in, because those referrals are going to be the fastest way for you to get in there and get a job.
Guys, I encourage you to reach out to Kaylin. Again, very generous to share your LinkedIn.
Yep, my pleasure.
Connect with her. She is amazing. Kaylin, thank you so much for your time. This was
You're
incredible.
So welcome. I had fun.
We had laughs like that. I'm going to rewatch the game tape, and we're going to get it out pretty soon and share it with everyone so they can benefit from the message. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, of course, share with others who could benefit the message as well, and hit the like button because the algorithm likes that too, and will share it to more people. To your success in tech sales and in life, happy selling and happy living, and we'll see you in the next one.